Welcome to the next module of this course. And in this module, we will talk about practical agile principles and best practices we could use for better project management. And as course goes, we are coming to the most essential part when we will discuss that how really by managing project and management different practices we could deliver the best result for our company. And in terms of Agile, we need to talk about specific processes and specific things like value. It's a functionality that actually what we are delivering during the project, any project. There is a process, how we do it step by step. Then a team is very important, and of course quality. And if we look at the general approaches how to manage projects, there are two different approaches. And first is incremental. It means that we have the whole picture at the beginning about the result what we want to achieve, and then we implement it piece by piece. It requires us to know at the beginning of the project exactly what we want to deliver and how it look like. Not often we have that kind of picture at the beginning of the project, and it requires us to use a different approach. At the bottom we see on this slide like iterative approach when we have idea about what we want to achieve and then are going deeper and deeper and discover what we actually want to create, and then we have a result. And if we talk about Agile use a combination of both. Agile is incrementally iterative approach to deliver result. The main building blocks of Agile project management is a process, that how we deliver it, what we do, what sequence of steps we use to deliver the value, the team, how we manage people to deliver it, and how we work with the people. Then it's requirement management, very important part of Agile, how we fix and share and then use these requirements that is a description of functionality we want to build. And of course, project management practices, tips and tricks, how we work with project management practices to deliver result. If we talk, we will start with the process, and you see here a process a little bit discussed earlier. So usually we have the initial planning. Initial planning is like we were describing vision, what we want to achieve, how it look like, and things like that. And when we have this initial planning, we are preparing the backlog. The backlog is a term for bunch of functionalities, a list of functionality we want to create. And then the process looks like we're dividing in regular pieces and regular time slots called sprints. It could be like 1 week slot or 2 week slot or even month slot if it needed. But usually it works better if you use the same length of this period, like 1 week sprint, and on each sprint you are delivering something from the backlog, and your team, the whole team, is working for each sprint. Like at the beginning of the sprint, you are just picking from the backlog what you will include, what you will do, what you plan to do, and then the whole team is working on it, and at the end of sprint you are looking at the results and planning the next sprint. It goes like step by step, and during this process you are manage project, you are manage quality, you are look at the acceptance criteria, and etc. And that is how the process look like. So we see that process is iterative, and we could adjust backlog all the time and proceed with backlog and finish project when we feel it's ready. Talking about team in Agile, we are talking about cross-functional team. It means that there is no like team of designers or developers or some specific title of people. The different people are coming with different competencies, are coming together and working as a team. Usually small teams are preferred for agile projects, like 5, 7 people, not more, and they are together, complement each other to deliver best results. At the end of each sprint, or even before, there is a process called retrospective. It means that you are sitting together after the sprint and analyze what is done well, what is not done well, what we could do before, what we could do better. And this process helps us to improve the performance of the team regularly. It means that after each sprint, we could perform better, find the ways how to do that. The core building block of Agile is, of course, functionality, called backlog. Backlog is list of user stories, and user story is a simplified requirement. It is usually consists of one sentence by stating what can user do. Like, as a user, I can log in into system. It means that system requires login and login page and things like that. There is a priorities in a backlog. Usually backlog at the top of the backlog is the most priority things, and the bottom of backlog is less priority things. And in Agile, we start with the most important things first. And there's estimate processes that allows us to estimate the size of each user story. And here we see some examples of user stories, and we see that this idea is to keep it short and very understandable. And we see that the idea how we state user stories is like, as a customer, I want to do something, and it requires to implement in the system, for example, some functionality to comply with this user story. And there is a different processes how we could design these user stories. And one of my favorite user story definition process called impact mapping. There is a book and there is a website about this process, but idea is very simple. Usually when we start to defining anything, we very often are going directly to the what we want to build, to functionality. We say, no matter what, we understand what we want to build, let's write down functionality, like login page, like banners, like some forms, and etc., etc. And it's not very effective because after time we forget why we are doing. And there is an idea to switch these questions in different sequence. So first we need to ask why we are building something. What is the goal? Then we need to answer to the question, who will help us to achieve this goal? Then how they will perform, what they will do that we will achieve, and only finally what need to be built for this. And there is nice poster available on the www.impactmapping.org, and some descriptions are very useful materials for definition, an easy definition of user stories. And as I mentioned, the right approach for these questions are why we are doing something, why we are building. It's usually the answer for this is like, we want 100 subscribers, or we want some additional purchases or some activity. Then we need to define who will do what, and how how means that how they will act. It defines behavior of the users, behaviors of the who definition, and only then, when we answer to these questions, we can create the actual backlog user stories answering what question. If we look at the breakdown different way, why means a goal, who is the actor, how behavior, and what actually artifact. In our case for Agile, the artifact is a backlog item or user story. And this is a question in just right direction. How it helps us. Actually, the impact mapping is just like oil, that oils or the process of delivery using Agile methodology. We could create easily roadmaps using this approach and the mind maps like this. Next thing we need to talk about is MVP or minimal value product. What it is? Actually, this is in every case there is some minimum amount of functionality that is okay to launch, to go with, and actually you will benefit from it. It's like creating if you create a web page, it's usually you are thinking about all the things that could be included in this web page. And probably at the start, some of these things or most of these things are not needed for you, not needed for customer. It's expensive to build and time consuming to build and hard to manage. And MVP approach is that you are understanding what are the most priorities for your minimum amount, minimum start. You know your customer very well, so you could define these priorities and you could deliver the minimum but still valuable product with less costs and less time. And then when you deliver it, you start using it, you understand better what is needed additionally, and then proceed with that. MVP approach is very popular in Agile, and it allows you it helps you to save a lot of time, effort, and money, and get a better results. We need to talk about some management practices, and nowadays a lot of time we are working in virtual teams. What are virtual teams? Virtual teams is like a teams that are not technically, physically sitting in one place. They are like in different buildings or in different locations in city or in different countries. And to manage virtual team requires some additional practices and effort from the project manager. And there are a couple of key principles, like 10 principles that you need to follow to effectively manage a virtual team. First is that you need to gather team physically at least at the beginning of the project. It works much better if for at least one time you are getting together, spend a day or maybe 2 days discussing what will be done in the project, introduce yourself, have a dinner or lunch, and it helps for the projects a lot. Next, for the virtual teams, there should be more systematic and formal approach for defining processes and goals. It means you need a one-pager, one-page description about who, when, and how and what we need to do and how we will do that. That everyone of the team could print it out and put on on his desk, for example. There should be a commitment, a communication charter. It means that, again, you need to define when and how we communicate. Usually for virtual teams, there should be specific schedule, like every Monday morning we have a Skype call to discuss project progress. It's very important, especially for virtual teams. Leverage the best communication technologies. It means for virtual teams, the communication technologies are very crucial. So you need to use the best and most available technologies for the team. Like if it is Google Hangouts, then use it. If it's different communication platform, you need to choose the best and most available for the team. The same for calendars. You need to choose a software that allows all the team members to easily follow the calendars and events on the calendar. Build a team rhythm. It means that, again, build the events on special regularity and that the team could follow easily. Shared language, very important. You need to agree how you communicate verbally, how you communicate in written, how you communicate in other forms, in what language. It's very important to understand that can we use something, some automatic translation, or all the documents are in English or on local language, and so on. It's very important to agree on at the beginning of the project. Virtual water cooler, what it means that usually when you work on the same premises, you have a water cooler and teams meet there accidentally time to time and discuss some usually even very important things. And for virtual team, there is no something like water cooler, but it's possible to create some chat room or specific forum where the people could come together and talk about everything. Clarify the track commitments. What do you expect from each of the team's member? You need to tell it and very specifically. And don't forget one-to-one communication, time to time. As a project manager, you need to communicate with other team members and discuss important questions that are specifically special for them. And now we are going to the practical part of this module. So let's try these techniques and especially these backlog definition techniques with a sample project. I call it creating web page. And imagine you are the organizing professional training events, and your business is very dependent on how large customer base you have, and actually you are very good. You already built some community, and there's a lot of members that are coming to your events, paid events, but you want more. And your idea is that you want to build a website, and now you need to understand what functionality it should have and what you actually need to build. And we will go using this impact mapping process. That means that first we will answer to the question why we need a web page. Then we will understand who will visit our website, who will influence subscribe. Next is how we convince them to subscribe, and just finally, what is the functionality we need to build? Let's look at these questions in more details. For example, we define that we want to acquire 100 new customers that will subscribe to our newsletters, that actually will provide our email to us, and then we can invite them to our events or send the information about events. Okay, we define the exact number, 100 new customers. Later on, we will be able to track it. Next, who will visit? And we understand that how we will organize this flow of customers and how they will come to this website. And we define that potential and existing customers from our reference site or from our partner site, where we will place a banner, and from our Facebook and LinkedIn pages will come to this website and subscribe. we will provide and how we will convince them actually what behavior we expect that will they will subscribe to our events. And the idea is that we will provide like some some valuable materials for download, and by providing email, they could be able to download these materials. And actually, what we need for the backlog for the minimal value product, it's one-page website. There should be a subscription functionality where, as a user, you could provide the email and subscribe, and then you need a download function that when you are subscribed, website allows you to download some materials. We need to implement the Google Analytics scripts just to follow and see the progress and measure efficiency of our website. We need to store emails to MailChimp. That's an email sending service that allows us collect emails and then do the bulk email campaigns, marketing campaigns, and track the results. And finally, we need to create reports using, for example, Microsoft Power BI, where we put all the data and actually can follow efficiency of the functionality we build. And let's try in next page. Let's try and create your own functionality for your page. Following this process using the templates provided.